It's Fantasy Football for Dummies by Dummies, presented by nobody. Oh, the amateur agency, I guess. My name is Austin Delalonga, and with me, as always, is Lash. Just Lash.
Let's go.
How's it going, buddy?
Not too bad. I didn't even know we were live.
Yeah, I wanted to add in a little music there, and that's all I came up with, like the classic little trumpet. But we'll get there eventually. We haven't made it to the big time yet where people are giving us intro music like over at Third and Wrong, but we'll get there, Lash. I talk about Third and Wrong as if I'm not a part of it, but I haven't been on the show in a couple weeks, so those guys over there just start a vendetta against Third and Wrong as I'm wearing the merch.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Sorry, Zach and Steve. I'm leaving. Just kidding. No, I'm not. All right. So speaking of leaving, I might be leaving my fantasy football league because I am out of the playoffs after a loss that just put the nail in the coffin for me. So Lash, how did you do last week? Because I'll get to my poor team in a sec, but I want to hear your.
So last week I said that I was a 97 to 3% favorite to win. That quickly changed. I put up 78 points and got absolutely annihilated.
In PPR, 78 points is like 30 in standard.
Yeah. Josh Allen, 15 points. Kamara, 6. Brian Hill, 5.5. Crowder, 6.1. Cup, 6.1. My kicker was my third leading scorer with 12 points. So that basically tells you, no, that was Jason Sanders, the number one kicker.
Oh, heck yeah. Nice.
Let's go. My saving grace. So yeah, just as usual, my team's falling apart right coming into playoffs. Top
as
3
usual,
seed
literally
locked in again. Locked in top 3 seed for the third year in a row, and I'm probably making a first round exit.
Right on cue.
At least I get a good draft pick next year. It's Dynasty. Let's go.
Yeah, that's funny. Oh well, I heard
it's not funny at all.
Yeah, given your history, it's not funny. But I heard there was a little bit of drama with your league, just with the you're saying you get a better draft pick. I heard that there might have been a little bit of tanking going on by one Zachary Snake Foth. So he was starting, who did he start over? Robert Tonyan, and he started Miles Austin.
No, he started Harrison Bryant.
Oh, Harrison Bryant.
Mr. Third string tight end on the Browns, maybe second. I don't know if Njoku's above him, but second at best. 0 catches in the last 2 weeks leading into last week. So I think he had negative points. Or he had negative points at one point. Yeah. I think he ended up with a touchdown maybe,
and he has Hunter Henry on his bench and Robert Tonyan. So both guys that are very much above Harrison Bryant levels. So I know that sparked a little bit of discussion. So I'm suing you, Zach, on our show, but maybe I won't be welcome back on Third and Wrong.
He's trying to be sly. He's starting Denzel Mims over Chris Godwin on a weekly basis as well.
Yeah, that also got brought up as well. And he's been very high on Chris Godwin, so that one didn't fly under the radar like he had hoped. So some sliminess in that Dynasty League. I'm glad I'm not in it. I'll stick in my standard league, but although that might be changing next year, we'll go to PPR probably. But anyways.
Baby.
Anything else on your league's front, Lash, before we talk about my abysmal team?
Nope, but I can relate to the team being abysmal right now.
Man, this sums up my season entirely. I overthought this year. I made a trade for Kenny Golladay that did not pan out at all. The first week I traded for him, he got me 0 points, and he's been injured ever since. I traded away Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Amari Cooper in what I thought was a sly trade for Keenan Allen. Turns out it cost me multiple games. If I would have kept those guys, I would have won. And I would be in playoffs right now. So what happened this week, the overthinking that took place is the Panthers defense. I have, even on the Third and Wrong podcast, I've been very vocal that the Panthers were my team for this year. Like I love everything that they did in the offseason. I love this defense. I had the Panthers defense and I was super pumped about it. I love this defense. And I dropped them because of a matchup. And I don't know what I was thinking, because they were up against the Vikings, if I remember correctly. And I was like, I am looking at these Browns against the Jags, the Mike Glennon led Jags. I'm just going to drop them this week and I'll pick up the Browns. I got to trust in the Browns. Well, that was the failure that cost me this week, LaChapelle. The Panthers got 19 points. Okay. The Browns got me 0. Fucking 0.
Yeah, I also had the Browns, so I can relate to that.
I lost by 15 points. So that was what did it for me. I dropped the Panthers after a good week the week before for a matchup, and it was just an oversight on a week that the Patriots, my beloved Patriots, shut down Kyler Murray, the number one quarterback. He got 7 points, I think, or 6 points or something like that. So I needed everybody else to step up, and the defense just, I don't even know the words. I can't even say them. They left me out to dry is what I was going to say. And then I had a little bit of a stroke, but that was my, that was my week. I am out of playoffs for the second straight year, and I'm very sad about it. So I'm sticking to DFS from here on out. I picked up the Panthers defense, who are on bye, and I'm starting them this week because there's no implications on the standings if I lose. And I trust my team. They'll get me the W, of course, now that I'm out of the playoffs. The rest of my team will prevail. I've got some good matchups. Speaking of good matchups, Lash, let's move on to the matchups for the week. Who do you got, if anybody, that's got a good matchup this week?
I actually have a few pretty good matchups. I have Marquise Brown against Dallas. I'm not starting him though, because he's impossible to trust at this point, unless Trace McSorley is the starting quarterback, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. Wait for that.
Which seems actually likely.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, I think Lamar's still out with COVID, and RG3's on IR now, and it seemed like they were leaning towards McSorley, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
I actually really hope so.
Yeah,
I liked McSorley last year. Yeah. He was.
I have no idea who he is. I just know he's a big meme. Everyone loves Trace McSorley. But then pretty much all my receivers actually have pretty good matchups. Crowder's against Las Vegas. Cup is against Arizona. That should be kind of a shootout. So hopefully he bounces back in terms of targets. He's so inconsistent. 20, 7, 13, 5. That's his last 4 weeks of targets. Like, just give me like 8 on a weekly basis and I'm happy. Like,
that's wild. What a swing.
And then Corey Davis has Cleveland, which should be a pretty good matchup. Their secondary is struggling, and whoever their top corner is should be on AJ Brown. So that should be a nice matchup for my boy.
Sorry to interrupt you, but Denzel Ward is their top ranked corner, and he is out. So all the more reason.
True. And then I have a good matchup in Frank Gore, who I am starting as my RB2 very, very reluctantly.
Frank the Tank.
I guess I can flip this to a question for you. Would you rather start Gore against Vegas, Gio Bernard against Miami, or Myles Gaskin, who just got upgraded off IR versus Cincinnati?
If I had an option, I'm leaning towards Frank Gore, just because I feel like the Jets are actually going to have a little bit of a push against the Raiders.
Right.
The Raiders just laid an egg against the Falcons and
then some.
And the Jets have been a little feisty in some games. So I wonder if this is a game where they just decide to show up for once. I mean,
that's what I'm thinking
11,
too.
But I think that there's a chance. I think Frank Gore will get you points. If I had to tier them, Myles Gaskin would be next though, for sure.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be
I want to
workhorse.
start Myles Gaskin. That's why I picked him up. Yeah, I think he's going to be a workhorse too, at least going forward. But I'm not sure about just getting upgraded off IR like today within the last couple hours. If he's going to be like a full go for tomorrow, like I think he'll probably split the work. So I'm not sure. This game doesn't mean too much for me, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Not
exactly.
to brag. Not
At
to
least you're in
brag.
playoffs, buddy. Sick. Well, I'm still playing the matchups, even though I'm out. I still got to be a good sport about it. I've got Jonathan Taylor, who I'm riding with. I think the Colts, like I've said this in prior weeks, I think the Colts really do want to establish the run, and they're going to focus on Jonathan Taylor being that guy for years to come. So I think that it's just a matter of getting him in, getting him comfortable in the NFL, and he's just really hasn't been able to get that confidence yet and that consistency. But they're up against the 31st ranked Houston Texans, and coming off a week where the Colts got blown out, their offense really depends on establishing a good running game, and Phillip Rivers being injured, they're going to need to do that even more so. So Jonathan Taylor, I do have Jordan Wilkins, who I picked up last week while Jonathan Taylor was on the COVID list. But I do think that this will be Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines' show. If you got Jordan Wilkins, just probably disregard him until further notice.
And 20 points for Wilkins incoming.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm pretty pumped about that one. You had mentioned Corey Davis. I have AJ Brown, same reason as you. I think that the Browns defense the secondary anyways, is going to be struggling without Denzel Ward. I'm not sure how healthy Greedy Williams is right now. I don't even know if he's in. I know that he had missed a few games. But regardless, without Denzel Ward, he's the top corner, one of the top corners in the league. And so that's a huge blow to the 22nd ranked Browns. They do get Myles Garrett back, which will be very interesting to see how he fares against a battered and suspended Titans offensive line. They just suspended their own Isaiah Wilson, I think he's their right tackle. He's a rookie from Georgia, and he had broke some COVID rules, so he's on the COVID list.
I think it said that he was out clubbing.
Oh, no way. There's clubs open in the States. What the hell?
I read something about a club. I don't know.
Oh, no.
I don't know what exactly it was.
Isaiah, no. But feel free to come on the show while you're on the COVID list. So there's some pretty good matchups there. Obviously, the two interlapped, but Corey Davis is having himself a year too, so he can't go wrong there.
True. Trying to earn that contract.
Exactly. He's trying to build up some hype, and we've got the hype train coming in. Choo-choo. Trying to build up some excitement around the hype train. There's a couple of guys that I got last. Do you have anybody that you are buying your ticket for to board the train?
Why don't you introduce the two guys? Because I don't have like guys that I picked independently of those two.
Okay, sounds good. So some big news for those who maybe aren't as in tune to fantasy. I hope you don't have this guy on your roster, but Will Fuller is suspended for the rest of the season for PED use that he blames on his doctor. So a little blaming there. I don't know if I like that, but nonetheless, he's suspended. And so I've got a guy who had a little bit of hype around him last year, Kiki Kutei, or Kuti, however you want to pronounce that. Cutie, maybe, to some.
I think it's QT, yeah.
Cutie. Well, I don't know about his appearance, but I know that from fantasy looks, he is a cutie, because he is now going to be a top.
Holy shit.
I don't know. He's going to be a top two receiver in this offense with Randall Cobb on IR, Will Fuller suspended. Desean Watson's still going to sling the ball. And QT had a pretty good year last year. He was injured off and on, but when he was healthy, he was really good. And so I think that with Will Fuller out, I'm just going to run with QT. I think that might be wrong. It might be right,
yeah,
but we'll run with it.
That's how I've heard it pronounced.
Okay, so we're going to go with QT. I won't emphasize the syllables like that, but here we are. Why is this a thing? Why do I have to say that? I don't know. But anyway, so Will Fuller was on pace for 1,000 yards. QT is going to slide right in there, take some targets from, and Brandon Cooks is still there, so he's still going to be getting a lot of attention. And so I think that if you can get your hands on QT, you're going to get a gem for the playoff run here. And against who are they playing? They're playing the Colts. It's a tough matchup this week, but for the longevity of the rest of the season, QT, I am buying my ticket for the hype train, and I am all aboard. Lash, what about you?
I think I'm on board. But like you just highlighted the Colts matchup, they got the Bears next week for week 1 of the playoffs, and then the Colts again. So it's not like a great schedule. They have Cincinnati in the championship week, so that could be a good one if you are willing to trust Kiki Kutei in your fantasy championships. I guess I'm talking myself to being not on board. Like he's going to get the volume. He's going to get playing time and whatnot now. He was already getting up to 58 and 51% of snaps once Randall Cobb was out. And now I think he should see volume. Definitely like pick him up. Like I'm on board for picking him up. I don't know if I'm on board for like playing him weekly or even at all. So I don't know if I am on board with picking him up. Like he's a speculative ad, and then depending how he performs this week, you can like decide what you want to do with him, I suppose. Because I think a lot of the deep targets will go to Brandon Cooks. So honestly, this is just gonna like pump his gas quite a bit, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I'm really pissed that I dropped him after the first 4 weeks of doing not much.
Brandon Cook?
Yeah.
Oh no. Pain.
Picked him up, and then he had like back-to-back 0 weeks or something at the beginning of the season, and I was like, all right, this guy's washed. 30 piece, and then like 22 the next 2 weeks, and yeah, it's just been pain ever since.
Oh no. Yeah, I think that Brandon Cooks is also on pace for 1,000 yards as well, and so I think that there's a lot of volume, like you said, to go around. And I think that my faith is more so in Desean Watson. And so even though it's a tough matchup, it's perfect that it's the week before playoffs, because you can add him in, like you said, a speculative ad this week and see how he does against a really tough Colts defense who gets DeForest Buckner back. And that defense is really different when he's on the field. So watch how he does this week. This Colts defense, you can still throw the ball on them. They're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And Desean Watson is still a top 5 quarterback. So he's going to find ways to get QT the ball. And I think that just with the way that they run the offense, like they had 2 1,000-yard receivers potentially on the field at the same time. So QT is going to slide right in there. He's shown that he can excel in this offense at times. And so this week, I'm still buying the hype. I'm still on the train, but like you said, I'll punch in my ticket, and then I'm just going to stand on the train real quick. And then I'll sit once I feel more comfortable with my surroundings, and make sure that everybody's wearing a mask and QT is getting the targets.
Yes.
So
fair analysis.
Yeah. So, all right. So moving on from QT, I've also got Devonte Booker on here, and this is because Josh Jacobs is out. So I don't know how Josh Jacobs or how long he'll be out for, but last week he didn't look the greatest. And that's coming from somebody who did not have him, but who was speaking with somebody who had Josh Jacobs and was fuming with how he was looking on the field. I didn't watch the game, but Devonte Booker has looked good, even when in a second string role. He's had a few good weeks as Josh Jacobs was healthy. So Devonte Booker, I really wanted the Patriots to draft him about 5 years ago or 4 years ago, but the Broncos didn't, and he fell off a cliff, and now he's revitalizing his career. This is why the Patriots should have got him, but here we are. That's a tangent and a half. So Devonte Booker revitalizing his career in Las Vegas as this whole this team, I think this is such a good pickup. I am buying my ticket for Devonte Booker, Lash. They are up against the Jets this week, and like if you have no other reason other than he's playing the Jets, like it could be Kendall Hinton back there. Like if he was playing the Jets, you would pick him up. So you definitely pick him up this week if he's available, and you're definitely starting him. I think that it might be too late by the time you're listening to this, but if you're in a league where he's available, pick him up, buy him, because he might even be a good ad for the playoffs if Josh Jacobs is out for next week and beyond.
Yeah, I am on board with this one a lot more than QT. Even if it is just like for this 1 week, if you're making that last second playoff push, I think Devontae Booker is a guy who can definitely fill in that starting role vacated by Jacobs and produce for you. I mean, in week 10 against Denver, he had 21 PPR points and 20 standard points in 36% of snaps. So that's on the back of 2 touchdowns. But nonetheless, I think with a bigger workload, who's he going to share work with? Jalen Richard, maybe?
Who's basically just a receiving back.
Just a receiving back, yeah. So, yeah, I think Devontae Booker should have a pretty nice day against the Jets, especially if the Raiders are at all motivated by how badly they played last week.
Oh my God, what a gong show! Yeah, and the only talented player on the Jets that I can think of is Quinnen Williams. So I don't know if it'll be a one-man show stopping Devontae Booker. So I like the chances here. So I wanted to recap last week's hype train too. I had a winner, Lash. I mentioned Ito Smith revenge game, and boy was it ever. Well, it wasn't. I mean, I just built it up to be like some 30-point game, but no, it wasn't that. But he did have a pretty good game. He had 13 points last week, so just wanted to point that out a little bit. And
yeah, I was pissed that I picked Brian Hill over him. That's for sure.
Yes, that's right. Yes, you were on record saying Brian Hill, and I went against you. Actually, I think truthfully, I was with you entirely, but I had mentioned Ito Smith revenge game, and I'm just going to run with that aspect of it.
The narrative.
Yes, it's all about the
better
narrative.
for you.
Exactly, yeah. So this is why you mentioned 2 options, and then you go with whatever. Because if I didn't mention that, people would be like, oh yeah, Austin's probably right. Credibility. Yes.
All right. And how about your other hype train pick from last week? How'd that one turn out that you talked about at every section of the episode?
Oh, Kendall Hinton.
Not as good.
Not good. Not good at all. Minus 2.78 points. More interceptions than completions, but we're not going to fault the guy who was on the practice squad the day
as a
before
receiver.
the game. As a receiver, no practice reps. And then the Broncos literally asked the NFL if they could play their QB coach instead. They said, no bueno. We're not going to
That would be such a weird dynamic. Just like randomly dress a coach for a game.
Yeah. I wish they would have. Like,
hell?
it would have been such a better game. Like 31-3. Are you kidding me? It wasn't even a contest. And poor Kendall Hinton out there just running for his life. Anyways,
Literally.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Moving on to Flyer of the Week, if Flash doesn't have any more hype train people.
Nope.
The train has left the station on the hype. So Flyers of the Week. Recapping, we just touched on Kendall Hinton. I didn't write anybody else down. Oh, Cam Akers. Cam Akers had a day. I mentioned Cam Akers, who put up 14.
Yeah, he had a day.
He put up, how many points did he put up? I had it written down here and I lost it. 14.4 points in standards. Oh, no, I think that's PPR. I forget what metric I used, but either way, he put up
14.4 in PPR.
Thank you, Lash. So he didn't get a lot of carries, but he made the most of them against the 49ers. And I am super pumped about it because if you listen to me, you got 14 points out of it. And I don't know who Lash had, but I don't know if it was 14 points good. Oh, wait, you had Darrell Henderson. No, it's a 1v1 match here.
No, I didn't have Henderson. I said to avoid all three of them.
Oh, fair
But
enough.
I do remember I did pretty aggressively disagree with you about Cam Akers.
Yes.
And you got pretty lucky that he broke off that big run. Otherwise, you would not be hitting on this at all. But I will give you your dues. You were right. My process was right, I think, in saying that the 27% snaps and 9 carries are not something that you want out of a fantasy option.
Exactly.
I think we can break bread here and meet in the middle. That you did good.
Oh no, you cut out there. we got some connection issues. I just heard you did good, and that's all I need to hear.
All right, you did good. That's good enough for me.
Perfect. We'll break bread over that. Okay. So yes, if you started Cam Akers, perfect. That's 2 check marks for Ozzy. I know it's no contest.
Sick.
It's not a contest between Lash and I, but I do need to make note of that because I am out of the playoffs and I have no other credibility other than the fact that, like, basically I need to hit on my hype train and my Flyers of the week, because otherwise, why are you listening to the show? Maybe you get a few laughs. Hopefully you do. But
hopefully we do.
You got to be watching for Lash at that point, and then it's going to be for dummies by dummy, just singular.
Sick.
Anyways, oh man, I think I might have. I don't know. I didn't mention it last week, but Darius Slayton, I might have mentioned to you 2 weeks ago. I was talking about trying to trade for him, and he had a big fat 0 on his stat line last week. So I'm really glad I didn't trade for him, but I've got him as my flyer of the week this week against the Seahawks. Colt McCoy throwing him the football. Let's see how that goes. But Darius Slayton's still a pretty good wide receiver, it seems. So I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are, Lash.
Darius Slayton, maybe. I don't know. If a guy is not starting over Daniel Jones, I don't really want to trust him at quarterback, to be honest. But, it's Seattle, so, like, anything can happen. Even though their defense has been coming around a little bit, they've been looking, like, respectable, not historically bad anymore, really. But you can do it if you need to.
He's a boomer bust guy. Last week I think he dropped an 80-yard pass, if I read that correctly. And so that would have been probably a touchdown. That's 14 points right there. 15 points if you're in PPR. So that would be pretty juicy. But that was one play. So again, the target share, to Lash's point, but he's still a big play guy. So boomer bust. I like the matchup. I would totally be taking a flyer on this guy if I needed help at receiver.
If we're looking at trends, this seems to be a big week for him. Since week 6, since week 5, he's put up 21, 12, and then down to 4, back up to 11, down to 2, back up to 14, down to 0. So this should be like a 30-point game for him if we're trusting the trends.
Math checks out on that one. Lash, who do you got for your one of your flyers of the week?
I'm just going to quickly go back to hits and misses because my credibility is looking shaky at best here, and I will wear that. I said Daniel Jones. That was looking decent until he got hurt, so, like, meh, can't really blame me there. Mm-hmm. Derek Carr, though, I said was going to be a really good play against Atlanta. And
oh no!
Start the car, and he put up negative 1.4.
You did say that too.
So, you can take the car to the wreckers and just leave them there. Just never start that car again. That's the streaming quarterback experience, though. That's happened to me so many times over the last couple of years. Last year when I was rocking with the likes of Cam Newton, Stafford, and Cousins as my trio of quarterbacks, I was getting a lot of those not negative point games, but a lot of really, really bad games. Mm-hmm. So That's the streaming experience, and I'm sorry if you actually did listen to me and start Derek Carr, because that is not a
Oh
good look.
man, you're gonna be getting some angry DMs.
I did say to start Taysom Hill, which seems almost like a have to start him at this point, almost the way that offense is running. He put up 18 points, which is respectable in a game that he didn't have to do much at all. Yeah. But yeah, I'm going back to the well with Taysom Hill as my streaming quarterback. Him and Kirk Cousins versus Jacksonville. Those should be really, really good outputs. But Kirk Cousins is on a hot streak, and he's going to probably cool off in the best matchup he has, because that's what he does when he's on my team. But yeah, no, it should be good against the 30th ranked Jacksonville Jaguars.
That's what I'm kind of worried about. I literally have Kirk Cousins written here, and then I scratched it out. I was like, I just feel something fishy here. I do like it, but like you said, he's probably going to flame out against a really good matchup. He's been just on such a hot streak. I think he's thrown 1 interception in the last like 5 games or something, and he threw 11 before that. Yeah, or 10 or something like that. So yeah, it's been quite the. He has not been like Kirk Cousins of old, where he's just like a very average guy. He's actually been pretty good. So, I mean, Justin Jefferson is just out of this world. I don't know how the heck a rookie comes out and instantly becomes one of the better wide receivers, but it's happening.
True.
Speaking of quarterbacks, though, I do have Mitch Trubisky. Oddly enough.
Oh baby.
Yeah, this is a flyer. So if you need a streaming quarterback and you don't trust Kirk Cousins like me, I like him, but I don't trust him. So Mitch Trubisky versus Detroit in week 1 put up 24 points. Detroit is going through a coaching change right now. I don't know what to even expect from that. Darrell Bevell is the interim head coach. He is their offensive coordinator. So I don't know how much that's going to impact the defense. Matt Patricia not being there. He was a defensive-minded guy, and the defense wasn't really that good. So I don't know if it gets better or worse from here with that uncertainty. And with just the kind of the chaos around that team, I think that this is a pretty good start. Like I said, considering he put up 24 points in the first time around, Allen Robinson, if he's healthy, this really does hinge on that. He was questionable. If Allen Robinson's good to go, I mean, the guy is literally carrying this team. David Montgomery had a couple of good runs last week, but other than that, like it was just a flash in the pan. The running game hasn't really been there all year. So it is going to be on Mitch Trubisky to air the ball out and get it to Allen Robinson and get it to Darnell Mooney. So I think that this is such a weird game. It could be 7-3 final, but it could also be like 31-27. Just, I don't know, but I do trust Mitch Trubisky if I'm streaming a quarterback this week.
Oh, that's bold.
Yeah, it is. I don't like Mitch Trubisky.
But I wouldn't stream Trubisky, but I can see where you're coming from, for sure.
He adds a mobile factor too, which helps.
Yeah, a bit of a rushing baseline there. For RBs, I have Frank Gore, obviously, because I have him on my lineup right now. I got to roll with him. And then Adrian Peterson or Kerryon Johnson, again, depending on whether you're in PPR or standard. Adrian Peterson for standard, Kerryon for PPR, because DeAndre Swift is currently doubtful, so unlikely to play probably. And obviously this hinges on Swift not being out there. If Swift is there, you don't start AP or Kerryon.
Yeah. Check in at 9:30 when the final bell has to come in. The final whatever
injury report.
Injury report.
And then receivers, if Josh Reynolds or Nelson Aguilar are out there, they just got picked up this week in my league, so they probably could be. They're lesser known names. Josh Reynolds, you don't love because he's the third option, but he is his snap count and targets have been up like basically since week 6. He's been 5 targets at minimum and like 75% of snaps minimum. So he's starting to get the ball rolling a little bit there. And they have Arizona, which I mentioned when I talked about Cooper Kupp. That should be a bit of a shootout, I would think. Again, knowing that I said that, Jared Goff is going to be shit, and they're just going to run the ball, and all the running backs will have a touchdown or something stupid. But yeah, that should be a good matchup. And then again, Nelson Aguilar, he had a good PPR week. He put up 10 points, which is around the threshold that I'm looking for in these flyers. And they play the Jets. So if there's a get right game, hopefully Derek Carr can get right against the Jets and sling the ball to Aguilar.
If you can't, then why did we even, like, how do you beat the Chiefs and then lay a duck against the Falcons and then possibly, like, if they do screw up against the Jets, like, this team just isn't meant to be taken seriously after they literally beat the Chiefs earlier on in the year, almost beat them a second time, and then just, like, I would be at a loss for words. I'm just hoping that the loss was from a highly emotional loss to the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football and they just couldn't get into it or something, but who knows? Maybe they won't be able to get into it again. Maybe they want Jacksonville to get the first overall pick. Who knows?
They don't want it.
Yeah.
It's too much pressure.
Yeah, exactly. I do like the Aguilar pick. I picked him up briefly. Of course, then he put up 0 points the week that I picked him up. But
typical.
Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure it was 0. You could probably check there.
Yeah, he's had a couple of really bad games.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he put up a 0-point game.
Yeah, so the week that I picked him up, of course, that's my luck. But yeah, I do like the pickup. He's a touchdown machine this year and a big play machine. It really is crazy to see the transition from Philly to Las Vegas. I talked about Devonte Booker revitalizing his career, Aguilar freaking revitalizing his career, and looking like a number 1 wide receiver, which is really
like,
freaking,
what the hell?
Where did this come from? Anyways, so I've got a couple of tight ends. One I'm just mentioning because I haven't made enough self-deprecating jokes about my fantasy team. I dropped Robert Tonyan. There was a trade earlier on in the year where he was included in the package. That was when I got Jonathan Taylor as well. And I dropped Robert Tonyan after he scored 17 points in 5 games. He ended up putting up 10 points and 12 points the next 2 weeks after I dropped him. So with a guy who's having tight end troubles, of course I drop him right at the wrong time. Robert Tonyan is back in this Green Bay offense, and Aaron Rodgers is airing it out to more people that are not named Devontae Adams than he was in the past, apparently. But so yeah, if he's available, like, I mean, most rational people probably picked him up. Or have him on his roster, never dropped him. But if they were like me and got fed up with this guy, like, what the hell am I doing? This guy's averaging just like 3 points a game. It was not ideal. So anyways, so Robert Tonyan, if he's available, take a flyer on him. And people are really sleeping on Jordan Reed, who has been getting about 6 targets a game for the last couple weeks. So I wanted to mention him in there because Nick Mullins, even though he's a hot and cold kind of quarterback, I really, really like the matchup against the Bills. I think that it's going to be a really good game. I'm really excited for this one. But he's, like I said, he's been getting 6 targets or so the last couple of weeks, and he only got 2 receptions last week. But Lash, you mentioned it a lot. Do you want to see that target share?
Yep.
So if you're in PPR, if you're in standard, I think that if you see this offense with George Kittle is just electric. The tight end position is very vital. And Jordan Reed is a guy who isn't going to put up George Kittle numbers, but he's going to be a guy that can make plays in the passing game. With Brandon Ayuk back, Deebo Samuel back, Raheem Mostert, there's a ton of weapons that the Bills have to manage for. And because the tight end position is so vital in this offense, I really like Jordan Reed here. What are your thoughts?
I think I mentioned this last week, actually. I said that the matchup from the previous, or like, I guess this previous week, week 12, wasn't great. So like, don't necessarily expect big things from him. But I think I touched on a lot of those points too. Like, Nick Mullins in particular loves to use the tight end position. A lot of George Kittle's biggest games have come under Nick Mullins. And the schedule from here on out for Jordan Reed is very nice. So I'm on board there. Tanya, he has to be, he's at least on the fringe of a TE1. I know his one big 30 or 40 point game early in the season definitely has his overall ranking a bit elevated to offset those 3-point averages over the last 5 weeks or whatever. But yeah, I like both of those. And then last week I picked Kyle Rudolph. He had a pretty good week, 14 PPR points, and they're playing Jacksonville again, again, referencing my Kirk Cousins pick, I suppose. I think that offense is really starting to hit. As long as Kirk Cousins keeps up his play, Kyle Rudolph should have a good week. They're without Irv Smith again, so he should be the number one, or he is the number one. And then a second guy that probably people are a little bit more slept on is Anthony Fercer, the Titans' second tight end. Jonnu Smith is out for this game, and Cleveland again susceptible to the pass. So Fercer is definitely an option. I think he had a pretty good game when they did fire him up earlier in the season. I might be wrong, but I think he had a 20-point game. Yeah, 25 points in PPR at Houston, 100-yard game, touchdown. So
wow.
if he's available, he could be a very good option. I know he's a good receiving tight end at the very least, so you could do worse.
Yeah, exactly. I think that I've seen a lot of games, or a handful of Titans games, and I've seen that they do like to get Fercer involved in there as well. So that would be a good one actually. And I think that because Myles Garrett is back, they might have to rely on a little bit more quick passes and stuff like that, where it favors the tight end a little bit more in that case. The tight end becomes the safety net for Ryan Tannehill. And because the offensive line isn't the greatest, they might really have to rely on him and get creative there. So yeah, I do really like that Anthony Fercer flyer. Got any more, Lash, or are you ready for the last Lash?
I'm ready for it.
Oh, you're ready this
2 weeks in a row, I'm actually ready for it.
Let's
After
go.
that embarrassment of Alex Smith, I come prepared.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. The last Lash. Okay.
Oh, that bring-in was way more disappointing than last week.
I don't know. I need some music or something. We'll get there.
But speaking of last week, I nailed it. I said Denver was going to be pretty much irrelevant. They were. This week, I'm going to say this one's a more hot take. This is closer to my Alex Smith take, I think. Multiple Jets will have fantasy relevant games. So I'm defining that as 10 points or so, 10 points plus for the skill position players. And I don't think Darnold will have a great game, but he could have a decent game, 15 points maybe. I think Gore should have a good game. I'm really riding Frank Gore, and I'm not comfortable with it. I've just realized that I mentioned him 3 different times this episode.
Oh no.
Jameson Crowder, I think with Darnold back, that's his safety net. He was a top 8 receiver or something in the 4 game. On the 4 games, if you take just 4 games out of the season for every receiver, I think Crowder's a top number 1 receiver, or a WR1 rather. His points per game, that's what I'm getting at. And then one of Perriman or Mims could have a good game. I think on a couple deep shots.
Heck yeah. So they're going to have 3 fantasy relevant players.
That's what I'm thinking. And the DST could be 1 if Derek Carr has another negative 1.4 point game.
So you're riding the Jets this week, Lash. You really don't believe in those Raiders.
I don't like it, but that's what the last Lash is for. It's a hot take.
There we go. Yeah, I was going to say that the Denver one was probably a very, not even lukewarm. That was probably more of a
I needed to bounce
icy
back.
hot. Yeah, that was an icy hot take. So perfect. I like that. I'm gonna write that down because I'm ready to come back to that next week.
Yeah, I'm sure I will not hear the end of it if it doesn't come true.
Yeah, that'll be our promotional clip for the following week if for the last lash again.
Good.
That's all we'll do is last lash takes for the promotional video. Everybody will be like, what are these guys talking about?
Why would I watch this? This guy's an idiot.
This guy's riding the Jets. Is he some Jets fan? All right. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I was just writing that down. Just got to take notes, you know. You got to stay prepared and keep the content coming hot and heavy. So you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and where is that? Where is your what is your handle, I guess? Where can people find you?
Oh my god.
It's late. I gotta go to bed.
It's been a botch last couple minutes.
Yeah, what is happening?
My handle is at the official Lash. But honestly, prefer you check out the amateur agency on all platforms over myself. I don't want to hear any shit for my Jets takes and whatnot.
Oh, that's good. All right, you heard it, people. Let the official Lash have it.
No.
Let it rain. No hate though. Let it rain like soft chirps. Anyways, so you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at AustinPaul_. Austin spelt with a Y, not an I. You can find the Twitter and Instagram of the Amateur Agency at the Amateur Agency and at Amateur Agency on Twitter. So Lash, you plugged our YouTube last time, and well done. I think that you should plug it again because you killed it last time. So we're I guess if you're watching this, it might be on YouTube, but what should you do when you're here?
You should scroll down a little bit, press the like button, press the subscribe button. Oh my god, and drop a comment if you feel so inclined.
Yeah. And if you got a couple laughs, share with a friend. Maybe you'll give the gift of laughter by sharing our episodes. So thank you, everybody. We'll be back next week for your playoff edition of Fantasy Football for Dummies by Dummies. Peace.